welcome to the show. Folks, it's Captain John here on Starbase 80, the worst damn starbase, of Starfleet. But the best gosh darn XO, my number one, is here, ladies and gentlemen, Flobo boy.
Oh, it's Sunday morning. It's inexplicably cold in my apartment. My apartment's older, and so it just feels super much like an ice box this time of the year. But I'm good, Captain, here on Starbase 80.
Prepping for the show, as I like to do every morning. I actually went over and got the captain's robe. Ooh. And today I'm wearing it for warmth.
Yeah,
it's a cool one out here on the best coast.
If I had a Wrath of Khan uniform from that movie, I totally would wear that with a little turtleneck.
Oh man,
go to the lounge afterwards.
Yeah, big fat white turtleneck. Oh man, and you can just like rest your head on it when you want to nap. Like, oh, that's a big turtleneck.
Coming back.
Hey man, you got to appreciate the fact that we are looking at Voyager. That's something we don't do a lot here on Starbase 80. And because
we don't do that here. No.
I mean, here's the thing. We like to go through this every week. Flobo Boyce, a man who discovered Star Trek more recently in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And has explored his way backwards and is watching all the new shows. And so giving me, a very old fan, giving me a lot of perspectives that I like to hear. Pretty old. Just had a birthday. Okay, yeah, I did.
You can't be just dropping that in. Stop the show. You had a birthday, you didn't tell me, bro. You could have gone to Yard House. You could have gone to Chili's. You could have sold something.
We should have gone to Denny's.
This here's a Travis. Whoa. So it's a big one. That's a big birthday. Woo.
I think maybe I could have gotten. I can almost order off the seniors menu. That's how close it is,
dude. What the hell, bro? My birthday, you had this whole celebration. We left early. You sent me on my way, and you're like, "Oh, by the way, I got all this here." Come on. I'm the worst XO ever. I should know this. I should totally know.
Hey,
are you a Valentine's baby?
You're too busy. And I totally appreciate that.
No, that's busy enough. Are you a Valentine's Day baby or later or what's your birthday?
My birthday is on February 23rd. I'm a Pisces.
Bro, we did Commander's Log.
It's not that big a deal. It's not that big a deal. Bored. Like one of the funniest things about being like, married and settled in with the family and all that is, we have my birthday here. I think it's different when you have a lot of friends, you're single, maybe you're just not as settled as I am. I think birthdays are bigger. For me, it's just a nice meal, cake,
That's the same way for me because I'm an old man at heart because I watch Star Trek in my mid to late 30s. But the thing is, John, allow me to celebrate you. Ladies and gentlemen, this here is the best captain ever. And he made another trip around the sun without letting you people know. How dare he? Happy belated birthday to Captain John.
What? Thank you very much. Thank you. And basically get back to the show because we really want to get out of here. Try to make the shows nice and quick, trying to get a good pace going on the shows. That's a new thing for me. Not for Flobo. He's very good at that on his shows, but me, not so good.
Have a good time either way.
Kind of working at it. This episode is an interesting one. The reason why I chose it was because there's a lot of 7 of 9 in Picard and just the modern Trek mythology. Everybody knows 7 of 9.
Mm-hmm.
I have actually never seen this episode.
Oh, really? Did you skip it? Like, I got the idea.
I bagged out of and it's very significant, actually. I backed out of watching Voyager in season 3 season 3 is actually a remarkable season for Voyager because so many people did the same thing I did and just went, there's other stuff to watch.
Most of
I'll
America.
probably see this later. And I swear that's what I was thinking. I was like, I'll probably watch it in reruns. If it's in syndication, yeah. It just was not appointment television for me anymore. Just not something I wanted to see every week.
That's what I heard at the time. Even though I haven't really watched Star Trek until I was an adult, when I was a kid around that time, I would say like 96, 97, a lot of people were like kind of making fun of this long in the tooth franchise, Star Trek, and saying, well, how many more are they going to make? And it's over, it's done. So I totally see that. But I just figured, like, hi, I'm going back. I think for completionist sake, you would have been like gung ho about it.
Look, one of the things that I have discovered in our doing these shows about Star Trek is that at the time it feels like one thing, and now with all of these shows to look back on and all of this history and all of these episodes that are so important and give us important information, episodes that come from, well, certainly Deep Space Nine is felt in a lot of episodes still. But Voyager and Enterprise, they still, we've been doing that quite a bit here on Starbase 80. We've been looking at episodes of these shows that echo forward, especially as Picard season 2 is starting this week. Oh my gosh, is it already?
Yep.
Already? Hang on. Let me, I have a Mac, and so I'm opening up the calendar just to look at it. And that's going to take me, okay. It only took a minute and a half to open up calendar on a Mac. That's really not right. And you were saying March 3rd. Okay, so oh my gosh. It's just a few days. Oh, we have on Wednesday, that is March 2nd. It's also Ash Wednesday, and I was discussing Lent earlier with Flobo. I myself am not a Lent guy.
Yeah.
Protestant church, but
well, my parents are too. My dad's Episcopal, though. They kind of do it. They're Protestant, but they kind of do it. Yeah.
Yes, Episcopal has its own space between
Catholic light
between the Methodists and the Catholics. Yeah. I really love the Episcopal Church. I actually, when I was a temp in New York City, I worked for the Episcopal Church office.
Oh, sweet.
For a couple of weeks. Yes, and lovely people, very inclusive, very, very sweet, very, very nice place to work for. So, yes, Ash Wednesday, we're doing a show, and it is in honor of season 2 of Picard. I hope you will join us then. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just not doing my job here. Oh, look at that.
We have jobs? Happy birthday.
Joshua Postels wishing me a happy birthday. Thank you very much, Joshua. You didn't jump out of my cake. Congratulations on another successful orbit of the G-type star known as the Sun.
Wait, who put him in the cake? That's
it's a good size cake. Because that's what I require anyway. Star Trek Voyager, season 3, things are not looking good. The ratings are pretty bad. It's 1997 at this point. And at the end of the 96-97 season, the show's going to have to go through some changes if they're going to.
And it throws me off because watching this episode now, I'll be honest with you, bearing the lead a little bit. Another episode I felt should have been 2 parts. But this is 96, 90, like you said, this is like Independence Day and Men in Black, and sci-fi was a whole different direction, the epic event. And now we still have ready room conversations and deep passages of thought. Like, the opposite what's happening right now.
I mean, we can look back on it now, hindsight is 2020. And you can see in this episode the sort of death throes of Voyager. They fought it off. They came back, and good for them. But we'll see how that happened in part 2, which is next week, next Sunday's show. In part 1, you're seeing you're seeing a weird changed Kess. You're seeing Captain Janeway on the holodeck becoming friends with Leonardo da Vinci.
Mhm.
You're seeing a lovely little scene with Chakotay in which she says the immortal line, 3 years ago, I didn't even know your name, and now I can't imagine a day without you, which is, kind of sweet.
Aw.
Yeah. How's my Janeway imitation?
It was like Janeway with little dash Judy Dench. It was great.
Ah!
My second Judy Dench reference this week.
You got some good Judy Dench going on this week, man. We need three. We need three, Flobo. Find a way. Find a way. There is a lot going on and not a lot going on. As you say, Flobo, this is an episode that probably could have been done in one. There are some weird reasons why it was cut in two. Very weird, very particular reasons. We will be getting to them. Yeah, I was kind of going for a Katharine Hepburn.
But before we do that, I guess I understand old school TV had like many more episodes, but I've never seen a 26 episode season in primetime. I usually like 23 or maybe even 21, but 26, I was like, did John get the right numbers on his keypad? Holy crap, this is the longest season ever.
Yeah, you, sir, are very correct about that. One of the things to remember about Voyager was it was a show that launched UPN. So they were very dedicated to it and would give it a lot of time, a lot of promotion, a lot of money, relatively speaking, because UPN didn't have like CBS money at the time. So yeah, 26 episodes. But I think if you look back in TV, there were some 32 episode seasons of some shows, maybe MASH, maybe All in the Family.
I count.
Your money makers.
Count.
I mean, well, yeah. I mean, UPN is at this point a not quite legitimate fifth or sixth network. Cable is still very much cable. It's not getting a lot of primetime viewers. So basic cable is off on its own. I know, I was working basic cable at the time. And there was a sense that this was a big show. So there you go, 26 episodes. And the network at this point isn't happy. And now the rumors start. And they turn out to be more than rumors, and that is that people are going to get killed off in this episode.
Oh.
And replaced by another character. And we'll go into great depth next week when that happened in part 2 of Scorpion.
I sure hope it's Neelix.
Don't break
my heart, John.
Hindsight is 2020, and I am about to break Flobo's heart, but we're gonna go through this episode nonetheless. Probably one of the most interesting teasers I have ever seen on a Star Trek episode. We see 2 Borg cubes. Flobo, having seen all the things that you've seen of Star Trek, what does seeing just one Borg cube do for you?
Absolutely nothing. And a lot of fans get upset when I say this. Again, this is kind of the advantage or disadvantage of coming so late. So I've basically got on board when the Borg already became overused and tired and just became this giant plot device. Hey, we need to pop the crowd for WrestleMania? Well, bring on some Borgs, y'all. and so in Picard, the Star Trek, the whole thing's happening on a Borg cube. I'm just like, oh, all right, it's dope college. Why not? It was a big deal. But seeing it now, I go, all right, I understand why it's important. I understand why they were different. But the more you think about it, there's a lot more smaller races that come across that are a bit more interesting to me. I think that's maybe because of how they're always seen as a super threat. It kind of goes back to that, right? Like nobody wanted to see Thanos' garden in that movie, right? And no one wants to see the Borg have like any kind of nuance. And so I think a lot of shows just kind of go, here you go, Borg.
Yeah, and you're very right about that in this one, because at no point do we see just one Borg cube. there's always multiples. And that is because you show most longtime fans, you show them a Borg cube, they'll pee their pants. I've got the wet pants to prove it. They've really set up the Borg in the Next Generation, especially as like doom. It doesn't get any worse than the Borg. Of course, the whole point in this episode is, it gets a lot worse. The Borg are just nothing next to this new threat, and we'll get to that. We've got 2 Borg cubes. They basically do the Borg thing. You will be assimilated. You will be, and then some beams from off camera hit the 2 Borg cubes, and they just blow the heck up. And that never happens. It's really hard to blow up a Borg cube.
Apparently not.
And apparently not now. Yeah, you got to wonder about the cheapness of using so many Borg cubes, but we'll tackle that as we go.
Absolutely.
We got the long scene after the teaser. Oh, well, and how'd you feel about that teaser? Do you see 2 Borg cubes blow up and you're like, oh, this is going to be a good episode. I'm going to settle in here.
So this is where it trips me out, because if it was any other show on the planet, I would be like, oh, hell yeah, put me on. But when I saw it happen the first time, I'm like, we're getting Ready Room stuff. We're getting freaking Ready Room stuff for 30 minutes going, what the hell just happened? What do we do now? What the hell just happened? So I was upset. I was like, damn, give me the action later.
You just watch that and you go, oh, this is going to be a long-ass meeting in the Ready Room.
Yes, it is. God.
Like a guy with a corporate job, like sitting in the Ready Room. Couldn't this have been an email? Why is this a meeting? Are these donuts for anybody?
How about you replicate somebody who cares? Oh man.
Okay, so we get the little scene with Leonardo da Vinci, and I want to say Captain Janeway, but really it's Kate Mulgrew, because as it turns out, I'm just going to throw this in there. As it turns out, there was a lot of talk about why there was a holographic Leonardo da Vinci. And
Valid.
It turns out that Kate Mulgrew had said that she wanted to have some sort of ongoing exploration of Captain Janeway's love of art and science. Yeah, that's kind of cool. It's not cool.
Yeah.
Except I don't tune in to watch Captain Janeway on the holodeck enjoying her holo novels, because they always felt like Mama's got her stories.
Yeah.
And I have to be quiet until they're over.
I felt if that was the case, and I understand that, right? Because you have characters who are about the science and logic, like in Spock, or about the science and adventures in Kirk. So you find a new way of science and art. I like that, but I'm sure there's other more nuanced ways to do that. Maybe learn about a race's culture or a species culture before you, I don't know, help them out. But this does feel like a part of a different show. And it's so opposite of what's going on. Unfortunately, does it a disservice. Now I'm looking at Janeway going, oh, here we go. Like, oh, you somehow helped out Leonardo da Vinci too? Like, it is not her fault. It's just the way it's presented.
Right. There are rumors. Do you want to hear these filthy, unsubstantiated rumors?
Best kind.
The rumors are that Kate Mulgrew knew that there was going to be a cast shakeup, and was concerned about where that would leave her character as the captain. So she wanted to create her own sort of subplot moving forward in the show, where she can go to Leonardo da Vinci and she can ask him for advice and she can get inspired. It actually happens in this episode. And you know, it's okay. It's all right. I don't hate it. I don't love it.
I get it.
It's okay.
Make yourself indisposable.
Interestingly enough, Leonardo DiCaprio does not appear on this episode. Oh. Leonardo da Vinci in the Holo Suite. Leonardo da Vinci is played by John Rhys Davies. Do you remember him from Sliders?
No. Sliders was like Friday night at 10 as a kid, right? Like a late night show. I don't remember them at all. What is it? What was he?
John Rhys Davies plays the grumpy old scientist in Sliders. His
Mm,
character's no fun. He
yeah.
actually left the show like 3 seasons in.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
seeing the pictures now. Yep.
yeah. And John Rhys Davies, of course, from Raiders of the Lost Ark, all kinds of great. You've seen him in a million things. Yeah, so it looked to me, again, rumor, unsubstantiated, that Kate Mulgrew was sort of setting up her own thing, and she really liked it, and she co-created it, and this was kind of a nice way of like getting the star of the show on board with all the changes that are about to happen, because it's about to get crazy on Voyager, y'all.
Don't you be lying to me.
And part of that is this rumor that Garrett Wang, who plays Harry Kim, is going to be killed off. Now, there's a joke among Voyager viewers that Harry Kim is the most dispensable person possible.
Absolutely.
He's been killed and resurrected like 4 times so far on the show. I think 3 times at this point. I mean, he really is the red shirt of red shirts, even though he never wears a red shirt. Did you ever have any feeling for Harry Kim?
Well, again, first impressions are everlasting, but we talked about this in the show. The first time we saw Harry Kim, he's like being racist towards that Ferengi dude. And you're like, hey, I read about you in Starfleet Academy. I was like, you know what, Harry Kim, you're self-righteous son. So yes, I had the worst first impression of the guy. So yes, kill him off. Go ahead.
So there's a lot. Now, remind me before we sign off to tell you how this turned out, because it's freaking fascinating. And there's also the character of Kess, played by Jennifer. I think that's pronounced Lean, Lien. Lean, Lane. She's like a Southern girl, so I think I can just say Jennifer Lane, and I'll be okay. Either one of them at this point is kind of circling the drain as a character on the show. And her character, of course, we've talked about this when we discussed the pilot of Voyager. She at the time, she's 3 years old, the character. They have different lifespans. This, she's no compa. But still 3 years old, kind of naive. So her creepy boyfriend Neelix brings her on to Voyager, where she does, I don't know, not a lot. She one of the things she does is she helps the doctor, and that happens in this episode. Yes, Flobo.
So can I talk about the cast for a second? Just
please.
Look, being 3 years old is not creepy. Her giving any kind of significant other is. And even though I do hate Neelix a lot, she could have been hanging out with anyone else. And I'll go, ugh. And this reminds me of, here's that reference, Arisa Robb from Green Lantern Corps, where she's basically a teenage girl. But there was an issue of the comics written by Alan Moore for some reason, where she like made herself into an adult woman to seduce Hal Jordan. And it was like, I don't want to read this now. And that's what I felt about Cass, because Cass was a full woman in real life playing someone who's supposed to be naive, but then she has a significant other, so you assume there's a romantic part to it, and it gets underscored in that Tuvix episode. You're just like, bro, I am out. Take it out.
Yeah. It never quite worked. There are so many things in Voyager. Oh, hang on. Let me get my notes down. Oh, damn. Wow, I've been missing some good comments. For those of you who are listening to the podcast, I'm probably editing that part out. I just don't feel like saying pedo Neelix is anyway, pedo Neelix.
I can.
Let's get back to my notes, because I actually made some this week and I'm very excited. Hang on, it's a Mac. It'll take a while. There they are. So we're looking at the Doctor and Kess are part of the big montage of Borg prep, which is, again, killing some time. People walking through the halls, people have their guns, people making things, people looking at charts and talking. So the big montage of them getting busy right before the Borg, confrontations.
Hmm.
And the Doctor and Kess are looking at, for what in 1997, this was really good computer animation. So you got to give them that. It kind
Was
of
it though?
they kind of raided the budget here to show us this sort of this is what the Borg, I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically a virus. The Borg invade your bloodstream, and they have these little nanobots, and they latch on to your blood cells. So that will become important later. This is one of the things the Doctor's working on. He is working on basically creating a cure to the virus, which is the Borg invading your bloodstream and taking you over, making you part of the collective. The zombie. I never say this enough, but Borgs are robo zombies, future zombies, if you will. I don't know. Scary? Not scary? I don't know. What do you think?
It's cool.
Flobo.
I think it's a cool concept. I haven't. It was kind of funny because Star Trek fans always love to hear this too. I have not gotten to any of the Locutus episodes, so I can only imagine it will get scarier if you see someone you know and love become a zombie. But again, it's that kind of villain that's great, and you can project things to it, but it is kind of generic. It's like, well, I don't. I can see why that's scary, but like I want some kind of like layers in there. I want some nuance in there. Again,
Yeah.
they can be different, and with Picard
Yeah.
becomes assimilated, it might be different. But as it is right now, I just go, all right, that's fine.
I think the basic idea behind the Borg was always a strong one, which was we've shown a lot of evil aliens, but most of the evil aliens we show are just sort of variations on people from Earth. The Klingons are a lot like the Russians, and the Romulans are like the Chinese. I mean, just this idea that enemies are not that alien at this point. So when they came up with the Borg, it was like, oh no, this is a whole different. They don't have politics. They don't have, they don't have representatives. They don't have a pecking order. They are a hive of beings. They soak up electricity, technology,
Mhm.
and humanity, and they make it all theirs. They assimilate everyone to them, and resistance is futile.
Right. But to compare it to say something like Brainiac, for example, right?
Mhm.
There's that element of harvesting cultures and peoples, but Brainiac presents himself as a superior being because
Right.
he's doing you a favor. I think that to me is a true evil. Like, oh no, I am not worthy enough to be left alone. I'm doing it. We have someone who's like being a space Roomba basically and going you're just like, well, what's in it for me? Okay, I guess I don't want to be assimilated. Pew pew pew. But I want something to appeal to my ego. Like, no, I am different.
I mean, it's interesting that the humans are given that special place where they certainly have not defeated the Borg, but they've done a good job at fighting the Borg on the level of all the other races and planets and species that the Borg has been assimilating and destroying, um, because of that old thing with humans. Humans evolve. Humans try harder. They change when they need to.
Take that, birds.
The whole idea of what's so special about humans, which is interesting because we've seen that in conversations between Guinan, who's Elorian, and Q, who's from the Q Collective, talking about humans. So, eh. However, it's not that in this episode. What we have in this episode is just so many Borg because, okay, this is kind of cool. I thought they are now in Borg space. They are now where the Borg come from. That's the part of the Delta Quadrant that they've gotten to.
Mm-hmm.
It is there is no better illustration of this than the scene where they have Borg cubes running up from behind them. And there's 2 of them, and then there's 3, and then there's 5, and then there's 15. And so we've never seen 15 cubes before. They still didn't show you 15 in this episode. However, they are charging up from behind Voyager. And now they're like, oh no, they're coming to get us. And then they fly past.
Yeah.
And Voyager goes tumbling through space, which I thought was pretty cool. That wasn't so bad, right? This felt to me a lot like in Jurassic Park when the dinosaurs are stampeding.
Mind you, Jurassic Park came out, 3 years before this movie? Much better CGI. No, I got you. Yeah, it's a cool scene. It's a cool idea. Because it's nothing to compare. But one time I was in Costa Rica studying abroad, not to flex or anything, and I was getting totally riddled by mosquitoes. Like the mosquitoes was biting me up all the time. And then one night a lizard came in my hotel room, and I would have killed that lizard normally, but he just sat in the corner and it was like, I want safe passage. And I'm like, this is Flobo space. And the thing was like, no, I'll help you out. I'll use mosquitoes for you. And I'll let it live. And every day he'll go out, eat all the mosquitoes, and come back at night. We had a deal. That's what I think Jay was trying to do. So the mosquitoes in this case were the Borg cubes is what I'm getting at.
Right. And we do get to that. I'm sorry, I have to jump ahead in my notes. We do get there. Let's see. We had the montage, the medical thing, the Borg stampede. What do you think of Janeway's impression of Jean-Luc Picard?
It was fine, but I was so distracted by her hair this episode. Is that weird? It's like
her hair was weird
with a ponytail.
Yeah. No. She did a bun, but then it's falling in the back, and they've got all those shots of it.
Make it so. Make it so.
You gotta wonder. I wonder all the time with an episode like this one, when the ratings are so bad, like, do they start changing up her hair? They actually were talking about how they were writing her differently now. They started writing Janeway, and I love this. They started writing Janeway to be more like Kate Mulgrew.
Yeah. Why not?
Awesome. And I love Kate Mulgrew. So, yeah, that's okay. So when they do catch up with that Borg stampede, the cubes are destroyed. And now they're trying to find out what the hell happened. How did all those Borg cubes get destroyed when it is so hard to even damage one Borg cube? And that's when they find I hate using this phrase, biomass. Oh.
You made it sound dirty.
Better get that checked.
Hey.
They find a ship that is a biological ship. And they get up to the cube that has the biological ship attached to it. And that's when they go, hey, let's beam over. Good idea, bad idea, Mr. Boyce?
Always a bad idea. Always a bad idea. I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of episodes where nothing happens in Voyager, so they're kind of bored. I get what some little bit of adventure, but objectively, terrible idea.
Now, what's interesting about the Borg is if you enter a hive, they do not necessarily attack you because you're not necessarily a threat to them.
Mm-hmm.
A very efficient hive mind kind of a thing. So they go in there. The Borg are just kind of puttering. And then they get to where the biological ship has attached itself, and they see there's a big hole, and they can walk into the alien ship. And then they separate. Again, good ideas, bad ideas.
Oh, we're past the point of good ideas. Good ideas have been home for the day. These are all cascading bad ideas.
Even worse, Kes, who has mysterious psychic powers, which the writers came up with in season 3. We never knew they were coming, but now she gets visions. She saw a vision of a really disgusting pile of Borg body parts, and they walk right up to it. Like the pile of body parts from her vision is right in front of them, and they still go on the alien ship.
Great. What can go wrong?
So you got Tuvok and Chakotay. They go on to the biological ship, the bioship, while Harry stays around and gets information from the Borg cube. And that's when we meet the monster. Species 8472. I've worked so hard to memorize this. 8472. Here's my problem with 8472. When you finally get to see it, and they do a nice monster movie, slow reveal. And when they do reveal it, you don't get to stare at it for a long time. It's pretty quick. What did you think of this alien 8472?
I feel like in this, I would have appreciated if it was like an anti-Borg there, but hey, look, it was something that was equally terrifying for them and our heroes. So it's fine, you know. I was trying to remember the Tholians. Yeah, had very much of a Tholian vibe. I was like, oh, the crystal lamp people. Yeah, but yeah, it was pretty solid.
Yeah. Here's my problem. So it's 1997. I'm looking at it and I'm just going, one of my favorite movies was Aliens. And they got their xenomorphs. And they're kind of lizardy, and they kind of got the weird heads. And H.R. Geiger was this great designer, and he's the one who designed them. And when you watch science fiction, you see variations on the xenomorph from Aliens over and over and over. So it's not unusual. If you ever watched the show Falling Skies on TNT, not unusual to see this take on an alien. And that to me is a little weak. It's like, I've already seen this kind of alien before. This looks like a really bad ripoff of the xenomorphs.
Oh, you know what? I thought it was a bad ripoff of the Road from Men in Black 1, but maybe it's the same common lineage factor too. It wasn't great in that level, but for what this needed the purpose to be, it was fine.
Yeah, I guess I understand it because these things get designed, but there's always like some Hollywood suit, some cigar chomping, Range Rover driving dick who's going to go, I don't know, it doesn't look alien enough to me. Can you make it more like Aliens? I mean, yes, that happens. I don't, it's much easier to get something derivative like this made and paid for. That's the other thing. It's probably very expensive at this time, especially.
Yeah. When someone says they want a Kevin Hart type, they just want Kevin Hart. I don't know what the type part is. Give me more alien type aliens. So alien, perfect.
Yeah. Now I do understand though, and I appreciate this, that in many ways they are the perfect enemy of the Borg. The Borg cannot assimilate them, and they are brutal. They just kill. When we get back to the ship, first off, Harry gets attacked, and he is in terrible shape. And at this point, Garrett Wang, who plays Harry, is lying in the hospital set, and they basically covered him with evil tapioca.
Got a little something in his nose there. Yeah.
Kind of a all-face booger kind of a situation that he's got going.
Got a little,
they actually
got a little something there.
Actually do the tear. And I gotta admit, that gets to me. Oh yeah, well it's like,
oh really? You cry over Harry Kim's racist ass? The show's over.
Harry Kim is not racist. He's just written badly.
Fair enough.
And you can quote me on that. As my voice cracks like I'm Don Knotts or something. Oh, let me tell you something about that Harry Kim. He only seems racist.
Harry Kim apologist here.
Yeah, seriously, the old white man's going to tell you who's racist and who's not. Yeah, that's always the good time.
Of all the times I'm thinking about race, don't make it about.
That's always how you want it. Hey, old white man, what do you think about racism? I think it doesn't exist. We've got we've got a terrible situation now. Harry is clinging to life. Kes keeps getting more messages from 8472. And the message is basically, the weak shall perish. At which point I always go, there should now be some heavy metal music. The weak shall perish. We shall perish. We've been 8472.
We are species 8472. That's so stupid.
It's so dumb. I mean, really, this is some basic bitch science fiction. Come on, man. This is so basic. But whatever. It's 1997. We can give him that.
For a quadrant tour.
I mean, shoot, that is literally 25 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow. That's crazy. Not literally, not quite. The Northwest Passage, I forgot to talk about that. That was going to be the way they were going to get through Borg space, because they noticed the Borg were not going into that space. It turns out it's because that's where 8472 comes from. And so where they have their little black holes, I also loved are they from another dimension? I don't know. The conversation. Because I was wondering. Yeah, where are they from? Because they destroy everything. They could be from a universe where they've destroyed everything already. Now they're coming to ours. We don't know. And we may never learn, because
it's a plot hole, really. It's like,
Well, what's interesting is they had this chance that maybe they could use the Northwest Passage, but now they can't, because that's where the bad guys come from, the badder bad guys. So now Janeway goes, she visits the maestro, which I always think of the maestro from Seinfeld, which is hilarious. So she visits Leonardo da Vinci. I don't want to say DiCaprio again.
I just got that in the maestro. Oh, Domingo Pavarotti and the other one. That was a classic.
So Da Vinci is basically saying, come with me, we'll go to the church, we'll pray. And she's saying, wait, what if I do the opposite and I make a deal with the devil? Now I've turned her into some sort of Muppet.
Yeah. Very
so Captain Janeway basically gets everybody in the ready room for a big meeting. And I didn't see any coffee. So I assume this was a hard charging meeting.
Right. All hands on deck. Oh, Saturday. It's my day off.
The reason she calls the meeting is because she's got a crazy idea. And that is, the doctor has been working on a way of using the Borg nanobots to reprogram Harry Kim's blood and get rid of the 8472 invasive infection. And that means the Borg have the technology to fight off 8472. Oh, and we find out they're losing. 8472 is beating the Borg. The Borg could be wiped out. And once they wipe out the Borg, Janeway is pretty sure they're coming after everybody else in our universe. So really, they've got to head it off now. She's a big meeting where she basically says, I'm going to make a deal with the Borg. And everybody thinks, well, that's a terrible idea. What do you think, Flobo? Deal with the devil? What do you do?
It's a terrible idea. I'm sitting there going like, I'm sorry, boring ass Chakotay is right. You go around. You're who the hell home is. They already told you 30 bunch of years. You made some time. You did some shortcuts already. You weren't playing with house money, woman. What are you doing, Captain? Go around.
I love it. And he's basically saying, look, we could just find a planet and just settle down there for like a couple of years and just let them kill each other. I mean, there are options here. All of the options have to do with not getting home. And as we've seen before on Voyager, one of the main things is they're just trying to get home. So Janeway, because of her guilt that she caused this ship to be thrown so far away from Earth, she'll take crazy chances to try to get everybody home. Is this a good character conflict? Because it is fairly consistent.
I think for the benefit of the show, yes. Even though there's some episodes of Voyager, I walk away being like, "Oh man, I wasted my time with that." I think that
Ah,
the conceit, the being able to do it's a good motivator inside of an episodic television, and also for archetype episodes. However, this idea on paper and in practice has so many ways it can go wrong. It's not worth the risk. This is putting people's lives in danger. Before you can say, "Well, you know, man, my key was cloudy. We had a little barrier. It happens." This is going, we're going to screw everybody up. Yeah. And for what? To get home, what, a year earlier if you're lucky? 10 years? I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know.
There is a real argument had here, and that is, again, as you said earlier, Flobo, did this have to be 2 episodes? We spend a lot of time hashing this out in this episode. It is an interesting conflict, though. Do you trust the Borg enough that you can make this deal with them? And she's saying yes, and everyone else is saying no. And then to be continued.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not literally the to be continued. The when the Borg take basically they take the Voyager captive, they are then attacked by species 8472, and species 8472 cuts through them like a hot knife through butter. He destroys an entire planet that has Borg on it. He destroys other cubes. There's one cube that escapes with Voyager in its tractor beam. That's when we're to be continued. How you feeling about this? Are you coming back? Are you going to watch part 2? If you're watching this at the end of season 3, are you coming back in the fall for season 4?
I think it's pretty much a cheap trick, but literally says part 1 as an episode title going into it. So I think I want to see how it ended, but it took so long to get there. I go, well, this can't be an episode for casual fans, right? Because there's a lot of air in this one.
Yeah. Well, there was an old complaint that a lot of fans had. They did it on Deep Space Nine, where they introduced the Dominion, and because they have this sort of detente, they're this sort of Cold War with the Dominion. The Klingons are like, this is ridiculous. We should be attacking the Dominion right now. And so the Klingons actually declare war on everybody who's trying to be neutral. And that means they declared war on the Federation. I remember fans at the time going, oh, what a ripoff. They can't make a good show. So they had to bring the Klingons in to make it more interesting. Meanwhile, I'm watching that going, ooh, eating so much popcorn.
Right.
I mean, I like that. Hey, things are really bad. Let's turn up the Borg dial.
Sure.
But I do have to wonder, at any point during the run of Voyager, would I ever have said, oh, I can't wait to see the next episode of Voyager?
I believe linearly, I think that, like, to your point, if you were watching this when it was released, yeah, there's a threat we all know, we think it can happen, and then this thing's even bigger and stronger than that. Let's see where it goes. I'm just coming in as a jaded person, or seeing Borg jadedness from the outside, going, wait, this is the thing everyone's tired of, and it seems every time we need a big pop, they bring back the Borg. The Goldberg of alien species here in Star Trek.
The Goldberg, I love it. We are going to cover part 2 next week. We will have our very special guest next week joining us. Mr. Craig Lubin will be in for part 2. We always have fun with Craig. So we'll be able to wrap this up. We'll finally meet 7 of 9. I'm sorry, everybody. I teased meeting 7 of 9 in this one. I actually did not know she doesn't show up. Yes, I know. Well, you'll have plenty of hottie on next Sunday's show.
Well, you'll be there, right?
It'll be all about either my boobs or 7 of 9's. You're guaranteed you're going to have some boobs on the show. Are there any notes you had on this episode you would like to go over, Mr. Boyce?
Yeah, let's see. We've seen episodes of Voyager before, but everything seems super 90s here for a reason. Is Chakotay's job just to walk around and say, I believe in you, Janeway? Because it's kind of a sweet gig. Whatever it is, I agree. What's up with the penis-shaped guns on that warship? That was kind of fun to look at. And then when Janeway says maximum warp and they hit the ground and Sibylina torch will around, I'm like, I can smell the mildew on this set. So that's what I learned this week watching Voyager.
Any exciting tabs open while we were doing this?
Oh yeah, I got myself the top 10 hairstyles of Captain Janeway. And celebrities that are born on your birthday includes Josh Gad, Dakota Fanning, and Aziz Ansari, Arisa Robb from the Green Lantern mythos. And really, how humans are El-Orians anyway? They seem kind of human, but they're vaguely more empathic. That's what I got.
Okay, please join us again for Starbase 80 next week. We will be wrapping up this two-parter, so if you didn't get to see the first part, go back and watch it. And I definitely think it was worth seeing, but yeah, definitely have snacks because, you know, it's a lot of time given to just a few things happening, but still a good setup for next week's show. Until then, we want you to live long and proper. Friends, hang on. There we go.
Species 8472, yeah! Push a ball, yeah!
And if Ozfest doesn't have Species 8472 on it, well, they just don't go this year.
Oh, man.
Right,
go board! Go board!
We can find Flobo Boys online at Flobo Boys. Also, his Patreon. Go to Patreon/Flobo Boys. You can find us here wherever you